In 3, 2, hello. You are listening to Finding My Way, a podcast where we interview students and faculty of various academic disciplines to help prospective students learn more about the fields that they are interested in. Today, we'll be going over a very unique program offered at USC through the Chan Division of Occupational Sciences and Occupational Therapy. The degree is an accelerated 6-year bachelor's and master's Doctor of Occupational Therapy degree. Here to tell us more about it is Lexee Sutton, a sophomore at USC from Greeley, Colorado, who in addition to being a full-time student is a Coca-Cola ambassador for the school and director of philanthropy for the sorority Alpha Delta Pi. Lexee, thank you so much for coming out here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this opportunity and just to get to talk about OT.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So Lexee, I feel that every single person that really goes into medicine has some sort of personal connection for it and a real reason for wanting to go into such a field that, one, takes a lot out of you because it takes a while to get the degree, but two, has the opportunity to really make a real difference in the world. What is your story for wanting to choose occupational therapy?
Yeah, so for as long as I can remember, I've always had the motto, impact as many lives as possible in a positive manner. That's always been my goal. And so navigating through high school, navigating through life, I'm always trying to find ways to do that. My freshman year of high school, I started working with people with special needs. One of my friends was like, hey, we're doing Special Olympics swimming. Can you volunteer? I can't make it this week. And I was like, okay, jumped right in. Didn't really know what I was getting into, didn't know what I was doing, but was just super excited to help. Loved volunteering because it was a way to serve, to make that difference in people's lives. So I went to the swim practice. I was a swimmer myself, so I was going to coach swimming. And the first day I was kind of assigned to this boy named Jonathan. And he is nonverbal and has depth perception issues. And so getting into the pool was really hard. And beyond that, just communicating, everything was really hard. But we formed kind of this immediate connection right off the bat, and for some reason it just worked. And so she ended up pursuing track, and I ended up pursuing her position as the volunteer at Special Olympics. And so on a week-to-week basis, I worked with Jonathan, and we formed this just amazing connection. And every week he continued to progress, and by the end of working with him, my senior year of high school, he was swimming the whole pool length by himself. And it was just so amazing because we went from not being able to get into the water to being able to swim by himself. And just seeing that transformation and seeing his growth and self-confidence through that was awesome. That's how I got into special needs specifically. And just continued working with them. Was the president of Best Buddies in my high school, which is a club that focuses on advocating for inclusion and fostering friendships for those with special needs. So really got into it. And then his family was like, oh, what are you going to do? I'm an indecisive person. So I was like, how am I going to help people? Do I want to be a doctor? Do I want to be a teacher for kids with special needs? What do I want to do? Didn't really know which route I wanted to go. And one day they were like, hey, you would make a great OT. And I didn't really know what that was at that point. I hadn't really heard of it, wasn't popular in my town. So I started doing a little more research and found out what occupational therapy is about and realized that it was a great platform to pursue working with people with special needs and also pursue impacting people's lives in a positive manner, which was my life's goal.
Yeah. So I think that's actually an important point to bring up, that we should define occupational therapy. What does occupational therapy really mean to you, and what does it really entail?
Yeah, so occupational therapy is basically occupations are lifestyle things that you do and activities, experiences, all of that kind of stuff. Occupational therapy enables people to live their lives to the fullest despite their injury, disability, basically any obstacle that comes their way that is preventing them from living their life to the fullest. So whatever that may mean.
How does it differ from physical therapy?
Physical therapy is usually more of a short-term process. For some people it can be long-term, but usually you stay in physical therapy 6 months to a year. Usually it's you get a knee replacement and you're going to do physical therapy to get back into walking, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So that focus is more on like short-term something. This is like more of a long-term thing. So you may be working with OT for your whole life or for years and years and years. And it's more of, once again, that lifestyle, those lifestyle functions. So learning how to tie your shoe, learning how to cook, even though you like don't really have the capacity to cook.
How does that make you feel? Or just like you're in a profession that's really helping people live easier lives, and to go into something that's like, my mission is kind of to help people live their lives a little bit easier for somebody who isn't as lucky as me to be able to live normally, I guess. I don't want to say normally because that feels wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. We take everything for granted. And I didn't really realize that until I started working with people with special needs. And like, it's sad because every day we go through every day and it's like you take the smallest things for granted and you get upset about the smallest things when to somebody else that can be the biggest thing. For me, I took swimming for granted. I never wanted to go to practice because I was always like, oh, this is hard. You know what I mean? I took swimming for granted. And then here is Jonathan, a boy who wants to learn to swim but doesn't have the capacity to be able to do it. And so I guess just realizing that is like such an amazing feeling, and it's beneficial for both parties involved, which is why I love community service, why I love OT, is just because when you see that smile on someone's face, or like for me, hearing Jonathan like jump out of the water and cheer, yelling for his parents, just like that excitement is so fulfilling, not only for him, but for me as well, because it's like I know that I helped him get to the place that he could be. And through that, I also learned so much. Like, Jonathan is one of the most hardworking people I have ever met. He created his own candle business and now has candles in stores across his little town. And so for me, that is just like so rewarding. And I think oftentimes people just like take it for granted.
In addition to working with the Special Olympics and everything that you're doing, what other kinds of things did you do in high school?
Oh my gosh, I did everything. I was our student body president. I did Key Club.
Wait, student body through ASB?
No.
Oh, okay.
What is that?
Normally at our school we have it like ASB is like the student president for each class level and everything like that. Like you have the secretary, treasurer.
Oh. Yeah.
Is that not in Colorado?
No, so we had that. We had class presidents, and then I was the entire student body president. So it was
the entire
for
school.
The entire school was the president.
Damn.
So I did that. I did Key Club. I did National Honor Society. And I had leadership roles in all of these. So vice president for Key Club, National Honor Society, vice president. I don't even remember. It was
just a lot.
Just a lot. Constantly doing things. Did a lot with Best Buddies. That was kind of my main focus, just because I was so passionate about it, and it was such a underrated school or club in our school that I really just wanted to make it known. So I invested a lot of time into doing events for that.
Do you feel like when you finally made it out to college, life was able to get a little bit easier and be less go, go, go like it was in high school? Or
Oh my gosh, I did find that out. The first semester I had free time, and I did not know what to do with free time because I had never had free time ever. Like, I was constantly had 10 minutes in between things, and that was drive time to different events. Like, I was so busy that I was not getting much sleep at night. At one point, I even sat down and I was like, okay, Lexee, like, you're taking all these AP classes, you're doing all these activities, extracurriculars, you're doing sports, you're doing literally everything that you could be doing. And it was overwhelming. But I sat down, made a pros and cons list of every single club, everything I was involved in, and at the end of the day, I couldn't get rid of anything. And so a lot of times people will ask me, like, how did you get into college? Like, what should I do? You got a full ride. How do you get that? And really, there is no answer to that except do what you're passionate about. And for me, I was so passionate about everything that I couldn't choose one thing to give up because I loved everything. And so, oh my gosh, I forgot what the question was going off of that.
Yeah, no, so I think you said that college was already much easier than high school. You had a lot more free time. Do you like living in the chaos in a way?
You know what? I do. I got used to it, and now it's uncomfortable to be still. So that's something that I've been trying to figure out and navigate through, is just like, I don't know, like when I do have free time, I feel guilty. And it's a horrible feeling. It's like, what am I doing? Like, why do I have free time? I feel like I should be investing it somewhere, and then I start freaking out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get involved in more things. I need to do this. I should be spending more time on homework. And I think it's just hard making that transition and realizing, like, the life I was living was not a normal life. Like, it wasn't what everybody did. And I really, I really did a lot, and I really invested a lot more than I even thought I did. Like, when I was sitting down and doing college applications, I was like, I had a list of things to choose from, and it was, what am I going to put on here? Because I had done so much. So I think, like, finding that balance of, like, being okay with having free time, being okay with laying on my bed and, like, doing nothing.
Yeah, just resting.
Yeah,
just taking a second.
Which is something that is, like, should be a part of every normal day, but something that I just hadn't really experienced before.
Yeah. So what kinds of things do you do right now to kind of learn to appreciate each moment and take it kind of easy?
Yeah. I think just literally spending more time doing nothing. And, like, I've started watching some shows. I never watched TV in high school. Like, never, ever. I have never watched, like, a series all the way through. So, like, sitting and watching a show, it's something that I had never done before that I like doing. Literally just laying in bed, going to the gym, hanging out with friends, but hanging out and not doing anything. Like, just being able to sit in somebody's presence and, like, whatever. So.
Okay. And that kind of helps you stay grounded a bit more instead of always thinking about the next step and what's going to be coming next.
Yeah.
I love that. And when you're meeting all these friends and everything like that, you chose USC for a specific reason. Why did you choose USC?
So USC was not my number one school. Kind of a interesting take, because everybody else is like USC.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the hype because I come from a really small town. So in my town, I don't even know anybody else from USC, or that has gone to USC or anything like that. So it's very underrated. Like, when I was like, oh, I'm applying to USC, everyone was like, okay. Like, it wasn't an Ivy League, so nobody knew of it, and it wasn't, like, just a normal school. So it was kind of in the middle. And so I applied to apply. While I was applying, I kind of figured out the hype of USC, especially for occupational therapy. USC is nationally ranked for their occupational therapy school. And at the time I filled out the application, they had been ranked number one for, I think, 15 years, which is crazy. Wow. So through filling out the application, I kind of got a better grasp. USC was the first one to release acceptance. So then it kind of came on my radar a little more, because I was like, okay, I'm already accepted here. Nobody else I was accepted yet. And then on top of that, Amber reached out to me, and she is, like, one of the ones who reads the applications for OT. And she sent me this email, and it was about this, like, webinar thing. And I was like, oh, I don't really know what that is. I'm working. I'm not going to attend. For some reason, I just felt this, like, overwhelming power that I had to get my shift covered at work, and I had to go to this webinar. I don't know why, but it was just this, like, feeling. So I ended up getting my shift covered, and I went to this webinar, and it was me and one other kid. And basically, she had told us that we had been accepted into the accelerated program, and that at that point, we were the two that were up for the full scholarship. So I believe everything happens for a reason, firm believer in that. And that was kind of a perfect example of that. Like, in the real world, I wouldn't have gone to the webinar. Like, I never went to any of the webinars, never even really checked my email, like, didn't know what was happening. This time, had checked my email, had felt this power that I needed to get my shift covered, and then had gone to this webinar, and that was what had happened at the webinar. So that happened, and then found out I got accepted into the accelerated program, which is amazing. Like, it's just such an incredible program. A lot of other schools, you have to do a pathway of, like, physiology, sociology, psychology, everything to get to the end of OT, especially to get your OTD. A lot of schools don't even offer that because it's kind of an underrated thing again. So it was just such a great opportunity, and then at the end of the day, I ended up also getting the full scholarship. So coming from...
Damn, look at you. Yeah.
Coming from a family with a single mom, I knew that wherever I went, I had to get a full scholarship because there was no other way. And so it was truly just a blessing getting that. And I am also a person of faith. And so I believed that it was where God wanted me to be. And so I wanted to pursue that.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool when you can look back at it now and just see how the whole storyline came together to where you are.
Oh, totally. Like, it was one thing after another, and it's just, that's why I believe that it's where I'm meant to be. And sometimes I have my doubts. It's really hard coming from a small town, fitting in here.
Yeah.
Just like being so far away from home and coming from a community that's so close-knit, coming to LA where it's like, it's completely
the complete opposite.
Yeah. And so that has been really hard to adjust. And so when I get in times of doubt, I just go back to that story and think, like, everything lined up for a reason. And so even if I feel like I'm not meant to be here, I am for some reason.
Yeah. Are there other reasons why you feel like that you're not meant to be here? Like, what specifically about LA do you not like that much?
I think just, I would just say the community aspect of it. Like, at home, I go to church, I go to the grocery store, I go to, like, literally anywhere I go, I am bound to see somebody I know. And that's a comforting feeling. Like, as much as I hated it while I was there, looking back on it, I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Like, you go somewhere and you know somebody, like, anything could happen and someone would be there, if that makes sense. Also, just, I'm really close with my family. We're, like, a block away from each other, literally. So coming from that, going into LA where it's like, I don't know anybody, I don't have any family here. My family is states away. Also, like, the people are different here.
Yeah.
Like, very small town chivalry is where I come from. And here it's like complete opposite. I'll pass somebody and I'll be like, hi, and people look at me and they're like, why is she talking to me? So I think that's been like the hardest adjustment, is just getting used to the differences.
Yeah. Did you ever feel, though, that, I don't know, that you kind of needed it? Like something different out of the hometown where everybody knows one another, everybody knows what's going on in everybody else's lives, to come out here and kind of just experience what it's like being a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah. It definitely got overwhelming, especially at the end of everything when, like, I would be somewhere and somebody would be like, oh, you're the front cover of the newspaper. You're Lexee Sutton. You're going to USC. You got this many scholarships. You did this. And that was a little overwhelming.
That's
like, at the same time, it was awesome. But then I was like, okay, like, kind of like it was big fish in a little pond.
Yeah.
And then coming here, and everybody knew everything going on in my life. Everybody knew my story. And as much as I loved that, it's also nice to be able to start fresh and to have that fresh slate and be like, I am going to present myself however I want to be presented, despite my story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just that clean slate is awesome. Hard, but awesome.
And instead of having a community that's already been developed where everybody knows you, you're forced to go into an environment and create a new environment where you create an entirely new community for yourself. Yeah. What has that been like?
Once again, it's been hard in aspects, especially because, like, since everybody knew me, everybody kind of knew what I was about, like, knew who I was, and genuinely, like, knew kind of that I was a good person. And here it's been a little bit hard because people will look at me and people will be like, she is wearing that, she's blonde, she probably has the richest family, has it all together, all of that kind of stuff, and set the stereotype. And that's been the hardest thing to overcome throughout my life, is just this stereotype that's said of me. And that's not who I am. Like, I literally wrote my entire Common App essay on that. Just because it's really hard when someone looks at you. Nobody in high school really knew. I mean, they knew, but didn't know that, like, I had, like, separated parents. And so here, it's great starting fresh, but then it's also hard that people don't know those good aspects of, like, what I had done, who I was. And it's been kind of hard to, like, show what I'm as passionate about here as I was at home. So I think just, like, it's nice not having people know your story, but at the same time, it's kind of hard. Like, my professors don't know me as well, so if I miss class and I send them an email and I'm like, hey, not able to make it to class today, this is going on or whatever, sometimes they'll be like, yeah, you can't make it up, like, that's your own fault. But, like, at home, all my professors knew that if I missed class, it was a big deal that I missed class. And so it was like they understood and they knew me better to know who I was. I feel like people don't know me personally here. And kind of when I look at the grand scheme of things, I think, like, I know a lot of other people really well, but nobody really knows me that well, which is a hard feeling to live by. But it's rewarding at points, because it's like, I know that I'm a phone call away for everybody else, but then the hard part of that is, like, I don't know if everybody else is a phone call away for me.
Do you feel like sometimes you don't have that community then that you can rely on out here?
Yeah, I've definitely felt that way.
Yeah.
I think I have, like, a couple great friends who I could rely on immediately. But just a lot of other people are just more of, like, acquaintances rather than friends, which is, it's different.
Like somebody that's actually gonna be there for you.
Yeah. Like who could I call at 2 a.m. when I need help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. What do you think that you can do to improve on that?
I think really just opening up to people and getting to know people, which is, like, once again, it's hard. But I think here the difference is that people don't really try to get to know you.
I think it's more so that people don't want to put in the effort unless you make the first move.
Yes.
And if you're willing to make the first move and kind of putting yourself out there, like, I don't care if you reject this friendship or whatever, I just gotta be me and gonna let it out. Then some people kind of appreciate that a bit more, and they're more willing to take you in and put the extra effort in to get to know you.
Yeah, I guess I just don't know how to really make that initial step that you're talking about. So that's something that I definitely need to work on.
It's weird because you don't know who's just like a class acquaintance or anything like that, or if you were willing to take the next step and like, oh no, let's actually go to Korean barbecue as a group and like really get to know one another and sit down and talk. Yeah,
like who is more outside of our business group chat then?
Yeah, no, 100%. But there's something kind of exciting about that though, and the fact that, listen, in college, I think it's the only point in your life really that you get to meet so many new people each week, and there's something exciting that, oh, there's a person I'm in a group chat with right now who I don't know anything about, but in 2 weeks, like, you can learn like worlds about them, what they've gone through, who they are really deep down. And I think it's kind of a beautiful thing of not knowing. And I know that you love that old community aspect of the old hometown in Colorado, but personally, I enjoy getting to know somebody and the not knowing of what your business is, if you're a good person, and what your whole story is, and kind of just let us create a relationship where you can feel comfortable in sharing it down the road. Yeah, I think that's awesome, and I think that kind of just signifies like our relationship too. Like, did we know that we were gonna be here the first day of school? No. Kind of interesting. How do you like USC though? Like overall? Overall, I like USC. I love the like Trojan community. I didn't really get Trojan networking. That's one thing with OT is it's hard to network. There's not a big platform for that, and it's not emphasized in OT, but I think like taking this business class has been super awesome because I've realized that like the Trojan family really is the Trojan family. And if you go somewhere and you tell somebody you're from USC, like, they will be willing to talk to you and help you out. And I think that's, like,
such an awesome feeling that I hadn't really felt before.
It's a very unique thing. I don't think a lot of other schools offer
No.
this kind of networking. For those of you that, actually most of you guys don't know, Lexee and me met in a Fundamentals to Entrepreneurship class, and it's a pretty cool class just because most of our assignments revolve around meeting leaders in different industries and learning how to network to them and kind of just listen to their story and really get out into the field and meet people, which at the end of the day, no other schools are really like emphasizing the importance of. But it really is something huge. The people that you know is what's going to get you far in life, less so the actual degree. But as far as the degree goes, which is also really important, what do typical classes in your major look like?
So it kind of depends on the class. A lot of them are more interactive. So because we are doing OT, we want to be enacting what we're going to be doing with clients, patients, all of that kind of stuff. So last year I took just the basic OT intro class. That was really fun. A lot of just like dipping your toes in the water of different things. And then I took an anatomy cadaver lab. Really hard, but also really cool. And that was a 4-hour class on the health science campus. It's a lot. It was only once a week. But it was a 2-hour lecture and then a 2.5-hour lecture and then the lab time. Really fun class because it's hands-on. Best way to learn is to like literally be in the body, picking out the things, pointing out like what muscle is what muscle, what nerve is what nerve. So I took that class. Right now I'm in a OT physiology class. More of like a biochem kind of thing, learning about cells, learning about all of those things. That is also a 4-hour class. But a lot of things are groups, interactive, getting to know your classmates and just actually practicing what we're learning, which is the most important thing because that's what we're going to be doing for our career.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're literally training you guys to be doctors right now.
Yeah.
Is that kind of intense? Because I think about the commitment that is needed to go into med school, and this is a very similar commitment. I mean, it's a 6-year degree program. What is it like just knowing that this is what you're going to be doing for the next 6 years? Does it give you comfort and stability, or do you feel kind of trapped?
I think for me personally, because I believe that OT is what I'm meant to be doing, and I want to fulfill that. Like, that for me is awesome because it's like I'm in it for 6 years. I don't have to go to a whole nother graduate school. Like, it's a 6-year program straight through. I'm already in graduate school. So that's a super comforting feeling. At the same time, it is hard. And a lot of people do get the fear of being trapped. We were talking about it the other day, and one of the girls in my cohort, we have a cohort of 10, she was like, hey, I don't know if I want to do OT anymore. And I was like, okay, so what does that like look like? And it's hard to change your major when you're in this program, especially because it is like a 6 year. So it's all outlined. Every class we're supposed to be taking, when we're taking it, all of that kind of stuff. I definitely have sometimes been like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. Like, what if I get out of it and then I'm like, oh, I want to do something else? I think it's also hard because being a Coca-Cola scholar and a Coca-Cola ambassador, I have a big connection with Coca-Cola. And there are internships through Coca-Cola that are only offered for ambassadors. And when I was at the summer training this year for the Coca-Cola ambassador, I was talking to a lady and she was like, hey, are you a senior? And I was like, no, I'm a sophomore. And she was like, dang it, if you were a senior, I wanted to offer you a position right out of college.
Damn.
And so I think that moment, I kind of got a little scared because I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I should be doing business and maybe I should work for Coca-Cola the rest of my life. And a couple of the people who had other majors actually ended up going back and changing their major to business after the conference. So that was one time where I kind of second-guessed myself because there's a great opportunity on the other end. But I think other people are also experiencing that. But when we sat down and talked about it as a group after that girl opened up to me and was like, hey, I don't want to let you guys down though, like, we realized that everybody kind of has that moment. Everybody has that feeling because it is a 6-year program. It is a big commitment. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're doing this, that's what you're doing. And so I think it is a little bit overwhelming, but at the same time also so rewarding, because then we looked at it from the perspective of like, you're stuck in it, but then it's also like, you're stuck in it. Like, that's great, because like, you don't have to go and take the MCAT and try to get into graduate school. You don't have to like do all this other stuff. You're already in.
So do most occupational therapists need to take the MCAT or do something else before they can go into... I don't know how the system works for occupational therapy.
So it's a little different. To have an OTD, an occupational therapy doctorate, is very uncommon. A lot of people just have OT major.
And they can practice with that?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is like that extra step, kind of. Yeah.
How beneficial is it?
Looking at it, that I'm a little bit unsure of. Of course, if you go to a place and you say, I have an OTD versus I majored in occupational therapy, they're going to hire you over the person who majored in occupational therapy.
Of course, because they're more committed.
Yes. So I think that itself, like kind of a resume builder is what people would call it, just because you've taken that extra step. You've gone above and beyond, you've done more schooling, you've invested more into the program, and you're more qualified. Like, you know more, probably, because of the extra classes and stuff. Like, yes, people who major in occupational therapy are great and know a lot, but it's just taking that extra step to really get that extra knowledge to be the best that you can be.
And when most people get this degree and come out of college, do they go and work for a corporation? I don't understand how it works. I know for you have a kind of unique story for it. So what would your dream job be with this degree?
Yeah, so ultimately I want to own my OT practice. I want to have a multidisciplinary practice where I have physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech, vision, all of it in one. Making it easier on the parents and on the patients, especially for special needs. So I want my practice to be focused on special needs. It's really hard for them when they're going into different environments, and being immersed in that is like such a challenging thing. So if they're coming into one office for all of their therapies, seeing the same faces, seeing the same environment, they get excited about it. It's not like they're dreading therapy, they're excited to go. So yeah, that's ultimately what I want to do. OT is great because it's really broad. So you can do whatever you want. You can do gerontology or you can do pediatrics. You can do traveling OT. You can do stationary OT and work in a hospital. You can work in schools. You can own your own practice. You can do whatever you want to do with it.
I love that. I love that it's a degree that gives you a lot of freedom. So
yes.
You're not really just stuck in one place. You're forced to be like in one office for your rest of your life. You can go wherever you want to go. And a majority of people, do they end up creating their own practices?
I would say so, just because it's the easiest way to basically do what you want to do as an OT. And everybody usually has their specific area they want to focus on. So some people pediatrics, some people gerontology. Opening your own practice is the best platform to execute that. I think it's kind of both. Like, some people want to open their own business, but then some people are also scared of that and want to work for somebody else. And so then they'll work in the corporations, in the hospitals, in the schools. Just depends on who you are.
Yeah. And do you know what the salary range would be then, depending on where you go into?
I think the average salary graduating is like $106,000 base average.
Okay.
So I'm not entirely sure, but of course it ranges with what you do as well. So it's like if you're opening your own practice, you're going to start out smaller, with a smaller salary, and then you may take off and it'll be super rewarding. So it just depends what you're doing.
Yeah. It makes me think of just how important it is to be multidisciplinary in your approach of it, where you can't always just be focusing on the medicine aspect. If you want to be creating your own practice and making something, you also have to focus on the business side. Do you feel like USC gives you that opportunity to explore all the different kinds of academic disciplines to really help create the most well-rounded person?
Yeah, I think for our program specifically, they put in leniency for you to either go abroad or to minor in something. Mm-hmm. So for me, I've chosen to minor in business entrepreneurship because I know I want to open my own business. Some of the other students are doing the same thing, and some of them are traveling abroad because they know that they just want to work for somebody else. Mm-hmm. So I think our program specifically has done a good job in implementing that because they give that option. Like if you want to look at a different school in USC, you have the time and you can do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could speak for other programs, but yeah.
But just for you, that's great that it helps you become more well-rounded.
Yeah.
And what do you think some of the highlights and lowlights of this major have been for you?
Oh my gosh. I think the highlights are once again just going back to like seeing how rewarding it is when you're working with people and positively impact. And it's a direct hands-on impact that you're making. Like you are feeling it, they are feeling it.
And do you have opportunities at school right now while you're learning to really work with the different communities that you want to?
So right now, no.
Okay.
We will be getting into more field work later on in the program. Right now we do things in classes or in class that are kind of practice things. So you can kind of get a sense of it with your classmates, not directly. Okay. But I think just like keeping that mindset going through that you know that. Mm-hmm. And the OT classes are so awesome because like I would encourage everyone to take an OT class at some point. You take an OT class, and a lot of the people that walk out of OT classes who had to take it for an elective or had to take it for just to fill their schedule are like, oh my gosh, I had no idea what OT is, and now I want to do OT.
Really?
Or I want to learn more about OT. Or like I want to tell other people about OT who would be great at it.
Why do you think so many people are drawn to it like that?
I think it's just so fulfilling. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just like, I honestly don't know. I don't know. But I think just because it is OT, like you get to make a direct impact. And I think people realize how rewarding that is.
Okay.
I don't know though.
I feel like that's a very unique thing in medicine though. The fact that at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing, you are making a positive impact on this world. Do you feel like there are any misunderstandings to this major that you probably wish you could have known going into it?
I don't know. I think, that's kind of a hard one. I don't know. I didn't know much going into the program. Didn't know much in general. Like I said, like OT wasn't a big thing. So I think...
Is that because there's a lack of information on it? Okay.
I think just lack of information. It's just not something talked about. Like when I tell people I'm an OT major, they're like, wait, can I ask you what OT is?
Yeah.
Like immediately. So I think just a lot of people don't really know what it is. So I think there's just misunderstanding in the whole of it. Like people just don't know what it is. I think that's the biggest thing.
So if you were to reapply and re-explain to yourself what OT is, not even to yourself, but to somebody who's going to be going into that field, how would you explain it to them?
I would just say that it is a way to enable people to live life to the fullest, kind of like what OT is. and helping people to be able to do the daily functions that everybody else takes for granted. And helping them do things that they otherwise would have been able to do if they didn't have an injury, an illness, a disadvantage, whatever it may be.
But do you also need to have a decent amount of knowledge on the microbiological standpoint and everything like that, like really understand how their body functions and which ways to improve on that, like how a doctor would look into it, as opposed to more of the administration side or something like that? I guess I'm really trying to just figure out, do you have to be good at science to want to go into OT?
No.
Okay.
No. I have never liked science. I took regular bio, AP bio, regular chem, AP chem. Never really liked science. I liked math. So completely opposite. I also liked writing, and science was always on the downfall for me. I think that there is so much opportunity to grow, especially because of these classes that you're taking. Like going into anatomy, I had no anatomy background at all. Some of my classmates did, and some of them were in the same boat I was. And going into it, you don't have to, like, I've learned to like science more than I did. I hated science, and I knew science, but I didn't know much about it. And I definitely learned a lot more through the program. Okay.
So you don't necessarily have to be this Doogie Howser medical genius already going into it. You can just
Absolutely
be somebody who wants to make a difference in somebody's life who genuinely can't do that by themselves.
Yeah. So in our program, they basically start over with everything. So like I said, I'm taking physiology, which is more of like a biochem class, and I took anatomy, which was the cadaver, and then I'm taking medical terminology. So all of those things, like I took anatomy. I didn't have to take anatomy before taking it in college. I had never had. And some of the people know everything about the cell in physiology, and some of the people have no idea what the cell even is. So I think the program is great in getting you in all of those, like kind of dipping your toes in the water everywhere you need to be with the body.
That's very beneficial.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't need to be this genius going into it. You are fine to learn as it goes.
And the OT professors are so helpful. Like, just such great people that if you know nothing, they will help you get where you need to be. If you know a lot, they'll still help you get to where you need to be. Like, they don't look at anybody differently. They treat everybody equally, and treat everybody as if they want, like, as if they're needing to help them.
And do you think these professors are going to be there for you after the degree if you have certain questions? Or, like, do you feel like these are people that you can rely on after you graduate to really help you become the best version of yourself as an occupational therapist?
Oh, yeah. I definitely think that, like, last semester I was having some health struggles, reached out to one of my OT professors, and she was just like so helpful and trying to find me all the resources that I needed. And then I, with another professor, formed a connection. I was like, hey, my family's coming out for Thanksgiving. She had asked me to watch her cat for Thanksgiving. And so I was like, yeah, I'll watch your cat. And then she's like, hey, where's your family staying? And I was like, oh, they don't have a place yet. Like, we're looking at the USC hotel. Asked her for suggestions, and she was like, have them stay at my house. And so now we've formed that connection and the tradition in my family that every year when she leaves for Thanksgiving, my family stays at her house and we watch her cat. So
that's actually so cool.
It's awesome. And we do things outside of like just classes. So last year we went to the Arts District, went to Earth Cafe, and went on a graffiti tour.
Wow.
We like, there's different opportunities, and the OT professors are so thoughtful of, like, college life. And for Thanksgiving, they hosted this thing where if you didn't have somewhere to go, you could go there. And so they just are mindful of everything, mindful of mental health, mindful of lifestyle, mindful of social, everything.
More than that, it feels like it's genuine love for the people that are in this program, to the point where it's like, I want to create this family for you, where I know everybody's far away from everything else that they know and love, let us create a close-knit group of people that
Yeah.
everybody can rely on and really just create a little family for yourself.
It is all about family, all
Yeah.
about community.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
a very beautiful thing.
It is awesome.
I want to change topics slightly and ask you a little bit more about the Coca-Cola side of your life. So your scholarship, is it through Coke or is it just through USC?
No, it's through Coca-Cola.
Really? And how did you find out about that?
So, like I said, going into college, no expected college fund, anything like that. So I was ambitious. I went for every scholarship I could go for. I applied for everything. So I looked up the top 5 prestigious scholarships and I applied for them. One of them being the Coca-Cola scholarship. So I submitted the application, heard back that I had been there's rounds of it. So a quarter finalist, semi-finalist, finalist, and then getting it. So I went through a lot of interviews for that process. And I think the year that I applied, there were 199,000 applicants.
Wow.
And I think they gave it to about 150 people. So I was very shocked that I got it, but just super grateful at the same time. Once again, felt like it had happened for a reason. So yeah, that's the Coca-Cola scholarship.
That's crazy. So then as your job as a Coca-Cola ambassador right now, what does that really entail?
So yeah, the scholarship and the ambassador are completely different things. So you don't have to be a Coca-Cola scholar to be the Coca-Cola ambassador.
Okay.
So that was a completely separate process. I applied to be the ambassador, went through another 4 interviews for the ambassador position. And what the ambassador role looks like is basically just being the face of Coca-Cola and promoting it on campus.
Okay. The products or the entire company? Okay.
Yeah, the products, the company as a whole, the company's mission, just really letting people know about this amazing brand and what it's doing, what its mission is, all of that kind of stuff, how it's changing lives. So what it looks like is 5 to 7 sampling events per semester. There's a sampling calendar, so you will pick that product. We have a connection with our bottler, so I have a local connection with the Reyes bottler here in California. Reach out to them, say, hey, can you, about 2 weeks in advance, hey, can you send me this much product by this date? Then they'll deliver it. Ours gets delivered to Seeds. I go pick it up, and then I host my event. So it's hosting events, samplings, posting on social media, having meetings with your bottler, having meetings with campus contacts, having meetings with your mentor or mentee within the Coca-Cola ambassadors, and going to bottler events, going to having a team meeting. There's teams within the ambassadors as well, having a team meeting. And all of these things are on a point system and then also on a payment system. So some of them you can get paid for, some of them are just for fun to get a point. And then there's a leaderboard. So basically the top people in the leaderboard at the end of the year get to go to Orlando, a trip all paid for, and they get opportunities for those internships that I had mentioned before.
Yeah.
So it's just a super fun, great opportunity.
Feels like it also teaches you a lot of really great skills.
I have learned a lot of great skills. Just getting those contacts, kind of dealing with all the loopholes of, at high school it was really easy to plan an event because it was hey, I go talk to the principal. He's like, yep, hey, cool. But here, I'm not talking to President Full. I'm talking to multiple different people. Multiple different people are giving me different answers, trying to navigate my way through that. So it's a great learning opportunity of how to communicate. Also great opportunity of how to, finding out with the students, when the students would want this product, what product they want, sampling it where, sampling it when, all those kind of things too.
I understand that Coke has done a lot of great for a lot of different people and a lot of students, but as an actual product, I can't help but feel like, I don't want to say the word evil because that's like too harsh and everything like that, but personally, I've never had a great image of Coke in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was always something that, oh, it's very high in sugar for the most part. I know they got like Coke Zero and everything like that as well, or Diet. But is it easy to like endorse that brand for you? Like, what is your thought process on it?
So, their Coke is more than Coke. Okay. And I think a lot of people hear Coke and they think literally Coca-Cola.
Yeah, not the Dasani waters.
Yeah. But Coke has so many other products. So they have vitamin water, which is a really low-calorie flavored water. They have Dasani. They have Smart Water, which has electrolytes. They have Powerade. They have Fairlife milk and Fairlife protein shakes. They have Aguas Frescas. They have Monster. They have everything. And so I think a lot of people like look at it and think just Coke, but there's so much more to the brand. And if you don't like I'm not as much of a dark soda person as I am Sprite. Mm-hmm. Coca-Cola owns Sprite. So then I'm choosing to drink Sprite. So it's still a Coca-Cola product. And then they're recognizing that our generation is more health conscientious, and so that's when they're coming out with Zero, or they're coming out with Diet, or they're coming out with a completely new product that's really low calorie, like the flavored vitamin water, that kind of stuff. So I think there's a lot more to it than just the Coca-Cola.
Okay. Does it feel a little bit strange though, because you're going into a field of medicine, and I can't imagine that there are a lot of doctors out there that really would be endorsing it as much of like, listen, it's soda at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Or it's like you're going to be working with kids and everything like that. Do you feel like, I don't know, do you feel like it's counterintuitive a little bit?
Yeah, I actually haven't thought of that until you brought it up right now. But it definitely is. I think, once again, that's why it's a little hard for me, because it's like a lot of people who are devoted to this position are strictly business majors who want to work for a corporation like Coca-Cola, who want to do that kind of stuff, who want to be like on the back end of things or the front end or whatever. And for me, I'm doing something completely different.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is weird because it's like, I'm not a business major, but I'm trying to figure out all these business statistics or like the business model, that kind of stuff. But I think it is a good opportunity still.
Yeah. No, I think it did worlds of wonder for you and for a lot of students out there, like with these scholarships and helping. But it's just interesting thinking about how like you're going into the medicine field, but like right now you're getting endorsed by a soda company.
It is, yeah. That's interesting perspective. I haven't really thought of it.
Yeah.
I think it is too, though. It's all about balance, and
of course.
I think like if it makes you happy, moderation. Do
Enjoy
it in moderation.
It,
yeah.
I mean,
so,
if you do anything to an excess, that's what's going to hurt you. It's just being mindful that hey, there might be consequences depending on what you do. So just do everything in a balanced, smart manner. All that.
Which is the same with other aspects of life, too.
Yeah.
Everything. Yep.
Yeah. Just learn to be responsible.
Yeah.
Responsibility feels like something that you are quite good at when you think about a sorority experience as well. Because you are the director of philanthropy, right? Mm-hmm. What is that really like? And what is being in a sorority really given to you?
Yeah. I think it's given that home away from home. Like, if I want to go to the house to eat a meal, if I want to go to the house just to hang out, if I want to go to the house to study, it's there. Mm-hmm. It's having the girls in the house that are like literally like your sisters. And just having that community, once again, is something that I was really looking for and that I found within the sorority is like a small little community. Seeing a familiar face on campus when you're walking is awesome. Like, such a great feeling to just be like, hey, how are you? You know what I mean? Great for connections, community, sisterhood, all that kind of stuff.
What about as far as being dependable? Like you said that it's difficult to form a community around yourself of people that you can really rely on. Do you feel like there are people in these sororities that you can really see as real people that would be there for you? Or is it more so just, we have a connection, it's not a deep connection, but it's enough for we're friendly, we're networking, we're all gonna like be cool with one another, rather than tell me what you love, why you love it, how can I be there for you, how can I support you through all your endeavors in life?
Yeah. So I think there's a little bit of both. I have acquaintances who I see at the house. I ask them how their day is. They ask me how my day is. And that's the end. Like, we know surface level what's going on in each other's lives, but it's nothing more than that. We wouldn't hang out outside of the house. And then I have, like, a very, very small community of really great friends. And through the sorority, I have actually found, like, who I would consider to be my best friend, who is probably the one person at USC I could call at any point of the day, and she would be there for me. So I think it's just a great platform to get that community, find people who are just acquaintances who make the days easier when you're walking to class and you see them, and finding those people who really would be there for you at the end of the day if you needed anything.
Would you suggest Greek life for anybody that comes onto campus, or do you think it takes a very specific kind of person to really enjoy every aspect about it?
I think you get out of it what you put in. And so I think if you really want to get that sense of community, you want to get that social life, you want to get all of that, then you have to be devoted to it and go in. And I think it does take a special kind of person to want to do that. And to have the time for that. For me, last semester, it was really hard to be involved in the sorority because I had a lot of really hard classes going on. So it was hard for me to be at the house all the time, which I noticed, like, I wasn't getting as much out of it as I wanted because I wasn't able to give. So I think it takes a unique person to, like, want to be at the house all the time, want to be social, want to go to the events, want to do everything. But I think if you are willing to devote the time to it, it is really rewarding.
Okay. And it's easy to manage with your course load?
Yes, because it's all about it's up to you. You can decide how many meals you eat at the house a week. The only real requirement is, like, chapter every Monday night.
What happens in the every night chapters or Mondays?
Basically, it's just kind of a recap of events happening, announcements, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So just like a quick meeting with everybody there. And that's only an hour. So other than that, that is the only main thing you are required to do. If you, once again, that is also based on a point system. So if you're looking to live in the house, you're going to go to more because you want to get those points. But it's up to your discretion what you do with it. You can eat as many meals, you can go to as many events as you want. It's in how involved do you want to be. So with my course load, it's awesome because it's like, last semester I wasn't able to be super involved. This semester I'm able to be more involved. And so I'm able to go eat more meals at the house. I'm able to hang out more often, go to events, that kind of stuff.
And what does your job actually entail?
So, our philanthropy is the Ronald McDonald House. So
we got Coke and McDonald's.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
So the Ronald McDonald House is a little bit different, but it's basically planning events to raise the funds for that. So next week on Friday, we have an event in Frankie's Bikinis and a jewelry company, ice cream, coffee, all of that. So it's finding vendors to come to events and then making sure that they're willing to donate a percentage of their profits, finding out those numbers. And then our big event that we have annually is Row Cup. So essentially it's a soccer game between the sorority and the fraternities, and there's little games run, there's like a bracket, and you raise money by having people pay to make a team, play in the thing, raise money by having people donate to get the supplies for it. Families, or like some of the parents or outside funders will just donate money to it, knowing that that is our fundraising event. So essentially planning fundraising events. doing the fundraising, having the connection with the charity. Yeah.
Sounds very exciting.
Yeah.
Sounds very eventful.
It is. It's a lot of work. It's again an underrated position. I don't think a lot of people know really what it entails to plan all of this stuff, and once again to communicate with people. Like, it is really hard it was really hard to have everybody committed to next Friday and committed to donating a percentage of their profits.
Yeah. Going off topic a little bit, I feel like a majority of our listeners are high school students that don't really know what they're passionate about in this world. They're trying to find their way. They're trying to figure out what it is that they love. And another fact is if USC is right for them as well. Do you have any suggestions for people that don't know what it is that they love to kind of help them find what they're passionate about?
My main encouragement is to follow your heart and to try everything. Like, even if you don't think that you like community service, join Key Club. Even if you don't think that you like being like in student council, join student council. Force yourself into those things that are uncomfortable because you may find the light in them. Mm-hmm. Like, going into school, I knew that I loved service, but I didn't realize as much as I loved it until I was in it, until I was doing it. Mm-hmm. So I would say literally try everything to see what you like, because you may never know if you like it or not until you try it. And then I think going off of that, just following your heart. I think one of our biggest problems in society right now is that a lot of people hate work and don't want to be where they're at. Customer service is, like, I also have a food Instagram. So I'm always trying out different restaurants, different places. And the hardest thing is customer service. Every time I find myself writing a bad review for it. Mm-hmm. So I think why does that happen? Because people are just doing what society tells them and doing, they're just falling into positions. I would say you don't have to be working for the biggest company in the world. You don't have to do this, but society is telling all Marshall majors that they have to be. Mm-hmm. It's not about that. Follow your heart and you will find things that you are passionate about that you didn't even know. And then we will have a more built society on people doing what they love, and it'll be such a happier place. So I would just encourage them, try everything and then follow your heart. Don't just say, I'm going to be a doctor because my dad was a doctor and he wants me to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. No, do what you love, even if it's completely opposite and you're doing arts or something. Literally do what you want to do and what makes you happy. And
test out that field, too.
Yes.
Like, if you even do want to be the doctor thing, really go do the internships and make sure this is something that you can envision yourself doing.
Ask if you can shadow a doctor. Ask if you can shadow, I thought I wanted to do business. Once again, indecisive person. I worked in an accounting office for a summer. Realized I did not want to do that. I could not deal with people not talking. I could not deal with the silence, with the sitting at a desk all day. But I didn't know that until I actually did it. And I had this perception that it was completely different. I thought working for an accounting office, we would all be talking. It'd be like a fun office party. Not like that at all.
No. Definitely not accounting.
Yeah. To get a word out of somebody, it was hard. And so, but you may never know that until you try it. So really just trying everything.
And if you could give a piece of advice to senior year of high school Lexee, who just got into USC, who's about to go into this journey, what kind of advice would you give her?
I would say, once again, just feeling more comfortable in that stillness. Like, looking back, here I am sitting here and I'm like, oh, I peaked in high school and now I'm on the downfall. That isn't the case. High school is very different than college, and you have to realize that. I was involved in every single club at my school. Now I'm involved in maybe 2 or 3 that I'm really passionate about. And so you have to just realize that you can't do everything and that you have to be okay with that. You have to find that stillness and be okay with that. And I would, if high school Lexee was talking to me now, I would just say, be comfortable with where you're at and be happy with it, because sometimes I get overwhelmed and I'm like, I should be doing more, I should be doing this, but I've never got to experience free time until now, so I should use my free time well and enjoy it.
100%. Yeah. Learn to adjust this new life.
Yeah.
Well, Lexee, it's been awesome having you on here. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that could resonate with you and what you've gone through, and I think you've helped them kind of take that next step and be comfortable with this next chapter of their lives. So thank you.
Thank you again. I appreciate it.